So you came into this life basically studying Buddhism?
Not quite. I came into this journey as a spiritual seeker, somebody who wanted to find out who they were, how they got here, and what's the point of being here? What am I doing here? And I wanted to know those answers. I wanted to find everything about myself, my own identity and my relationship, more importantly, with the universe, the cosmos. And to meet that intelligence, that higher intelligence, which is so filled with compassion and beauty and love. And I wanted to know who that was. So that was really the start of my journey. And in order to do that, I found myself living in a very blessed, beautiful environment, which some people may know as an ashram, other people may know as a spiritual sanctuary. But it's a beautiful place which enables you to not only connect with nature, but to give you the space to understand spiritual pursuits and their power, their potency, and their relevancy in the journey inside. Because that's where the magic is, that's where the knowledge is. The outside world is nothing more than manifestation of the inside world. So in order to find out who I was, I knew I had to journey in, but I didn't have any knowledge of how to do that. So my whole journey, my whole voyage has been very innocent, very much like a child, where it's just been said, okay, you do this, and that's all you need to do. And so that's what I did. I was given a mala, a rosary bead, 108 beads, the prayer beads in various religions. And I was given these words, which I knew nothing about. And I very obediently and very diligently just repeated them as I was told to. Not knowing what to expect, not knowing what to do about it. And 6 months passed, and I remember very, very vividly that morning. It was like every other morning. I woke up at 4 o'clock and prepared myself for the morning prayers. And I remember sitting down, and that particular morning, and from my heart, I said, Lord, God, I want to see you. I want to know who you are. And I'm not going to move until you reveal yourself to me.
I call it a Buddhist, but it's not Buddhist, it's a different type of community. Have I got the wrong name? What type of community was it?
Well, it's I suppose you could say that it's based on a Hinduism form of spirituality. But I've never viewed myself as a Hindu. I've never viewed myself as any religion. In fact, I was brought up as a Christian in the church, studying the Bible, singing in the choir in the church. And I loved it. So I've been very fortunate that I've had a taste of many of the religions. And what I've found is that every single one of them has the same common ground. And that's the beauty. That there is no need for separation. There is no difference in any of us. The outer shell or the expression is irrelevant. It's as different as the clothes that we wear. But inside we're exactly the same. We're all saying the same thing using different language. And so it's lovely to have a way to connect to that common ground, to find the very essence of who we all are. And the way that I have been very blessed and very fortunate to experience that is through music. And the way that music arrives is a very beautiful thing for me. It's the most it's the most divine, most loving time that I have, the most connected that I have. And it's the most sacred, because I recognize that my mind isn't involved. It's almost like I've just stepped out of the way of everything, and in that space something happens, something flows. And for me it's always magical.
And you're aware of the sudden presence of this divine being that assists you in the music. This is the most amazing thing, this first apparition that came to you. Can you tell us about it again?
Well, this was This was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in June 2005, and I was in my apartment doing nothing, just an ordinary day, no appointments, nobody coming to see me, and nothing happening. And just shortly after midday, I started to feel a change in the energy in the centre of my chest. And by a change, I mean I started to feel a little bit different. Not uncomfortable, but just different. And I've begun to recognise that that is the calling card. That's the time when I'm being asked to go and prepare myself to receive some form of communication. I have no idea what communication it will be. But at that particular moment, that particular day, I was asked to go and sit at my keyboard in my little home studio. And as I waited for the computer software to boot up, I just sat quietly with my eyes closed and I waited. And the feeling within the centre of my chest grew more and more intense. And I knew something was arriving, but I had no idea what was. And within just a few seconds, I felt a force lift both my arms, both my forearms, just above the keys. And with my eyes closed, my fingers gently fell upon the keys. And they fell upon the most beautiful notes. I couldn't have even imagined how I could have done this with my eyes open or thought about this. But this chord, and these series of notes that I played all together at one time, just sounded heavenly. And yet it was the same sound that I always begin my compositions with. So why was the same sound feeling so different? And then as I began to become immersed in this sound, my fingers moved to the next chord and to the next. And there was this beautiful rhythm that started to play within me. Bum, 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 bum. And it was like it was coming, something was arriving. And I remember that moment so vividly that that the beauty of it was overwhelming, and I arched my back and I lifted my head up to the ceiling, eyes closed, and I said, "This is so beautiful. I can't believe this is so beautiful." And the second that I'd said that, the darkness within my closed vision opened up like curtains on a stage. And there stood this beautiful being, this being of light. How do you describe such an awesome, awesome thing? The most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Completely smooth-skinned, looking like a human, humanoid, but definitely not any human that I've seen. And just emanating blue light, just love, just emanating. And he wasn't looking at me. And I could see him. And I was just uncontrollable. This is so beautiful. And I just said to him, "I want to come home." And that's when he turned his head and he looked at me. And as he looked at me, two beams of light shot out from his eyes and just hit me. And I was inconsolable. I was wailing, crying like a child. And I was just saying to him, "Please, I want to come home. Look at where you are, this beautiful landscape that you're standing in. All these colours, all these beautiful hues. And look where I am. I just want to be with you." And in his compassion, he just raised his arm and went, "Bum, bum, 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 bum." And that melody fitted exactly with what was playing. All of this was being recorded. All of this was happening. But what happened next, I wasn't prepared for. I had no understanding. He then spoke to me. He said, "You've not to come home yet. You have to bring this music from heaven to earth." And he used the word heaven. And he said, "You will call this music Star. And it will stand for sound transmission activate, remind. And you will present it to the world as BrainHeart music, because it's being sent with deep love from the universe to reconnect the brain and the heart, and to inspire human beings to act with intelligence and compassion simultaneously. And that was it. No more words. And then he lifted me out of my body, my first ever out-of-body experience. And there I was, standing next to this incredible, ethereal, cosmic angel. And he's showing me how he is playing through me.
Tell me about this piece of music we're just going to play. This is a very good example of the music which you have been given.
Yeah, this is the actual piece of music that arrived that day. It's called Star Part 1, and it's on the album Star, which I have here. Very kind of cosmic picture, which was inspired by this event. And this is a piece of music which everybody acknowledges, everybody who's heard it, acknowledges that it's doing something to both sides of the brain. They're feeling connected here, but they're also feeling something here, pulling them and connecting. It's almost like a bridge between the head and the heart, the two great powers that control our lives. Some people are totally cerebral and in their head, some people are totally from the heart. And what's needed now in this time of human evolution is the joining of both of these. And that's what this beautiful being told me about. So this is Star Part 1. Now, within 11 months of the music arriving, the music of Star, I was contacted by a healthcare charity. And I don't know how they got hold of me, but they called me and they said, you must come in. Your music is very, very therapeutic, and we would like you to see it being used in our treatment of children who are on the autistic spectrum, people with autism, Asperger's syndrome, brain injuries, learning difficulties. This was all completely new to me. This was never even mentioned in the original transmission that I received, that this was even, part of the journey. But I went along, and 2 weeks later, in this healthcare charity in Scotland, a little child came in, and this little boy had never spoken before in his life, and he came in with his mother. And I was very blessed to be there and witness this music from Star and the first album, In the Company of Angels, being used as a form of therapy. And it was on the third day that we played this music, and it was this third track from Star called Ocean of Love that triggered something within this little boy's mind, and he began to speak for the first time. So here's this music. So the real important aspect of all of this, there are many, but the one that really drives me in my passion for this music is to raise awareness to all people that there is much more to music than meets the ear. There is an incredible power within sound to not only entertain us, to lift our emotions and our moods, but there's this amazing ability to transfer information. In fact, that's what's going on all the time. We may not even be aware of it, but that's what's happening. Whoever produces music, and this is a humble, heartfelt message to all musicians all around the world, is that we have a responsibility. We have a need to know the tools of this technology, to understand fully what we're doing, because we can take the listener wherever we are, to the level of our own understanding. And it's like everything that we can do. We can achieve so much more if we know the bigger picture. And this is what's going on in the world right now. We're discovering the bigger picture of our existence. That we create our reality. That the inner thoughts, the inner processes combined with the feelings that we have with those thoughts project out and create that. And in the same way, if we as musicians, or if we as human beings, in whatever walk of life that you're in, if you're a doctor, if you're an artist, if you're anything, it doesn't matter. But if we become the instrument to be the best, then I believe that the outcomes will be much, much better for our planet and for our civilization. And for me, the passion is to create peace. There's enough agitation. There's enough turmoil. There's enough music out there that does all of that stuff. For me personally, I want to bring peace to the heart, to the mind, so that all the chatter, all the noise can be suppressed and you can experience your true self.